Billionaire Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates is now cautioning against taking what he's calling a doomsday view on the planet's future. Gates once described climate change as the most urgent challenge humanity has ever faced. But in a new essay, he is raising alarms about the immediate impacts of poverty in a warming world. CBS News national environmental correspondent David Schechter is joining me now to talk about this. Good to see you, David.
Good to see you.
So what are these three truths that Bill Gates is outlining?
Well, I think just it's a long essay and fairly complicated. So I would say, like, to distill it all down, he's saying the world has a more immediate problem right now than climate change, which he's been talking about for a long time, and that is poverty and health outcomes in the developing world. He is uniquely positioned as a person who is investing in both of those things. So, and I think he's saying we right now need to be investing less and thinking less about climate change, which he says is still a serious threat for the planet. He has not backed off on that at all, and be more concerned about the immediate impacts on people's lives and trying to adapt to the problems as opposed to mitigate or get to the root cause of climate change.
Mm-hmm. But he says that, I mean, we know that he's been concerned about climate change for a long time. Gates Foundation has spent billions trying to fund solutions to mitigate climate change. So he's not given up. In other words, if you are an organization that relies on the Gates Foundation to help combat climate change, your funding is not going to dry up.
No, I think they've made a lot of investments there, but they are kind of, it's called this breakthrough initiative is sort of sunsetting that. And I think a lot of what he's doing, or some criticism, is that he's reading the writing on the wall, which is the Trump administration is not interested in climate mitigation or funding climate mitigation. And what he really needs is for the Trump administration to pay a lot of attention to the developing world, which they have removed a lot of the USAID money. So I think he's making a bit of a tactical move here and saying, like, this is where we can do the most value right now with less money on the table.
And yet, as you know, probably better than I do, that part of the poverty and the global hunger that exists is in part due to the changing of the climate.
That's right. And he's taken a lot of criticism now because he said we've made a lot of progress, he says. And critics would say, yes, we have, but if we don't make more, it's the poor people of the world and the developing nations which will bear the brunt of these problems. And so it's to get some short-term results is great for many people, but to ignore the long-term problem or pay less attention to the long-term problem will, in the end, create more suffering.
Yeah, I just wonder, as, for example, something that's not talked about a lot is water shortage. And this is people who are struggling to have access to clean drinking water, sometimes in countries that are surrounded by oceans. If there isn't a solution, planning ahead for inevitably when that water is no longer accessible, what little drinking water people have is no longer accessible.
Yeah, I mean, those are the kinds of things that I think he's saying we need to be thinking about in the shorter term, like where's the water going to come from? And now we're going to the COP30, heading into this time when all the world's nations get together and start dealing with climate change. And many people think what he is saying may shift that conversation away from let's get this temperature down to let's fund priorities in the southern hemisphere where people desperately need help. The nations of the world have been promising that kind of funding for many, many years and have not delivered it. And so this may change the conversation at COP, and those developing nations want this kind of conversation.
Yeah, really important. All right, David Schechter, always good to have you here in Studio 55, my friend. Thank you very much.